The historic Hunts, a Partying for Preservation fundraiser event, is coming next Saturday in Monroe. Gabby Ballou shares with us what the money is going towards.
This is all about celebrating celebrating and just getting awareness for our historic district and for some of these historic landmarks that we have here.
Nirali Patel is the Main Street Director for the City of Monroe, and she says she's heard from community members about doing a combined event, including Layton Castle, the Cooley House, and the Master Museum of Art, since they are close to each other on South Grand Street. That's how Historic Haunts, Partying for Preservation, came to be.
From what started off as a conversation about, maybe doing some kind of day event that bled into the evening, or like some kind of day event that felt like a fall festival, we're like, wait, we can do something a little bit more elevated.
When people stop by for the event, people can enjoy all sorts of different activities, including a ghost and family museum tour at Layton Castle, an art exhibit along with vendors and musicians at Master Museum, and an outdoor speakeasy and tour at the Cooley House. People are also encouraged to dress in their 1920s attire. Patel explains the significance.
In the 1920s is around when Cooley House was finished and Master was finished, but also like Layton being in the center of those two locations. They were partying, they were having a good time. It was the Roaring 20s.
People will also be able to buy some merchandise from each location with their admission ticket. Brian Davis, who serves as the board president of the Cooley House Foundation, says how these will help support restoration efforts, along with a federal grant that was received.
Because of that grant from the National Park Service, we're able to, for every $50 ticket that is sold, that will, a portion of that, a third of that will go to the Cooley House, and we will double that through that Save America's Treasures grant.
Davis explains why people should come support these national landmarks.
But it's really a chance for folks to remember that this is down here and that these places can be used again. The more activities you have in them, the healthier the buildings are.
For more information on the event and to purchase tickets, visit our website at knoe.com. In Monroe, I'm Gabby Ballou with KNOE 8 News.